The Galactic Empire was vast, spreading across thousands of stars. For centuries, no race had ever dared to oppose it. Its fleets were endless, its soldiers trained from birth, and its leaders believed themselves to be gods among the stars. But that belief shattered the day they encountered the Terrans. The humans, as they called themselves, had only one small region of space under their control. Their ships looked crude, their numbers small, and their technology, by galactic standards, was primitive. The Empire laughed when the first human scout ship entered their border. They saw it as a toy, not a threat. Yet when that scout ship didn't run, didn't bow, didn't even answer their hails, when it simply scanned their battleships and left without fear, something in the Admiral's pride cracked. Admiral Carthon of the Empire ordered an immediate declaration of war. He expected the humans to beg for mercy within days. After all, no one had ever stood against the Empire and survived. But the humans didn't beg. They didn't even reply. They only sent one message across the stars. It read, "Acknowledged." That was all. No threats, no excuses, no promises of surrender. Just one word, calm, confident, cold. The Empire mistook that silence for weakness. They had no idea what they had just awakened days later. The first Imperial fleet entered human space. It was supposed to be a display of power, a lesson to the primitive species, 1,000 warships, bristling with weapons, marching proudly toward Earth's colonies. The Empire broadcasted the event across the galaxy. They wanted everyone to see their glory, to remind all races who ruled the stars. But as the Imperial fleet crossed into Terran territory, they noticed something strange. Human space was silent, no ships came to greet them, no fleets assembled to resist. It was as if the humans didn't care. Carthon smiled, calling them cowards. He didn't know that the humans were already watching, every move, every transmission, every heartbeat of his fleet, monitored and recorded, for humans had a different kind of weapon, not just lasers or missiles, but understanding. They studied every opponent before they struck. And when they did, it was always with precision. The first sign of trouble came at the edge of the Vega system. A small Terran ship appeared, just one. It was smaller than a corvette, a design the Empire's computers couldn't identify. It sent no message, no threat. It simply approached the massive Imperial fleet. Carthon laughed again, ordering its destruction. Thousands of turrets locked on and a wall of plasma fire filled the void. When the light faded, the human ship was gone. Not destroyed, just gone, moments later. Every Imperial ship's sensors flickered, then failed, then came the explosions. Dozens of Imperial warships detonated from within, no external hits detected. Their reactors simply collapsed. It was surgical, perfect, terrifying. The transmission from the Terran ship played across every Imperial bridge at once. A human voice, calm and amused, spoke only 2 words. "Nice try." The fleet fell into chaos. Carthon screamed for retaliation, for answers. But there was no one left to answer. In a matter of minutes, his glorious fleet was blind, crippled and surrounded. Then came the second transmission, one that would echo through galactic history. "You declared war," the human said softly. "We accept." And somewhere across Earth's deep command centers, human commanders smiled, not out of arrogance, but because they had seen this coming long ago. They knew one day someone would challenge them. And they were ready to teach the galaxy why humanity never lost. Not because they were stronger, but because they never stopped laughing, even in the face of war. The loss of the First Fleet sent shockwaves across the Galactic Empire for thousands of years. No one had dared to challenge their rule, and now, a single human vessel had destroyed an entire armada without firing a visible shot. To the Empire, it was not just defeat, it was humiliation. The Imperial Council met in secret chambers above the capital world of Thalon Prime. Every admiral, general, and noble was present. The air was thick with anger and disbelief. "Primitive apes?" hissed Admiral Carthon's rival, Lord Vexar. "They used trickery." Not strength, but even he knew, deep down, trickery or not, the humans had just rewritten the rules of war. The Emperor himself, draped in gold and shadow, rose from his throne. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with fury. "Send the Second Fleet," he commanded, and burn their worlds to ash. Across the Empire, war factories ignited. Millions of drones and ships began to assemble. The largest military force in galactic history was now aimed at Earth. Yet far away, deep within the Terran Defense Command, human leaders watched it all unfold. Their satellites, hidden in enemy space, captured every order, every ship movement. To them, the Empire's grand preparations looked almost childish. Commander Elena Rios stood before the main holomap, her voice calm but sharp. "They think they're coming for us," she said. "But they're walking into our test field. For years, humanity had developed something the galaxy couldn't imagine. A weapon not of destruction, but of manipulation. Quantum veil arrays, able to twist detection, to hide fleets inside gravity wells. To appear where nothing should exist, it was more than stealth. It was deception at the level of reality itself. The Second Fleet arrived 3 days later, 10,000 ships strong, each one larger and stronger than the First Fleet. They advanced into Terran space with confidence. Their sensors showed nothing. No planets, no fleets, no resistance, just the quiet hum of the void. Admiral Threxar, who now commanded the fleet, smirked. "Cowards ran away," he said to his officers. "Let's make sure there's nothing left to hide." He ordered orbital bombardment across the empty coordinates of Earth's supposed colonies. Massive energy beams cut through empty space, striking nothing, but something strange happened next. The beams curved, bent, and vanished into darkness. Then came a faint echo, a reflection, one by one. The Imperial ships' targeting systems turned against them. Their weapons reactivated, firing back at their own fleet. The void was suddenly alive with chaos, the Empire's proudest ships tearing each other apart. From within the shadows of the void, human ships began to appear, not emerging from warp, not decloaking, but phasing into reality, black metal hulls with no markings. Their engines silent, their weapons cold. They didn't need to fire immediately. Their mere presence was enough to freeze every alien heart watching. Admiral Threxar shouted orders, his voice shaking. "Who are they? How are they here?" No answer came, only another transmission. This time, from a human AI, it spoke in a calm, almost polite tone. "Admiral, this is a restricted area. Please vacate immediately." The Empire tried to fight, but their systems were already compromised. Their navigation vanished, their shields failed. Every screen flickered with the same human message. "You declared war." "We are simply continuing the conversation." Threxar realized too late what was happening. Humanity wasn't defending, they were testing. Every move the Empire made was being recorded, analyzed, adapted. The humans weren't reacting. They were learning. And every second they grew more efficient. When the battle ended, the Second Fleet was gone, vanished into the silence of the void. No wreckage, no survivors. Only one final transmission escaped back to the Empire. A single human voice, half amused, half pitying. "Don't worry," it said. "You'll understand soon. Back on Earth." Commander Rios turned to her team, her eyes sharp with quiet satisfaction. "Now they know we're not laughing at them," she said. "We're laughing because they still think this is a war." Outside, across the Terran defense grid, thousands of ships moved silently, invisible to the galaxy, waiting, watching, and smiling. Because to humanity, this wasn't a war of survival. It was an experiment, and the galaxy had just become their test subject. The Galactic Empire was no longer laughing, 2 fleets lost, millions gone, and not a single human casualty reported, the Imperial citizens whispered in fear. Was humanity a myth, a ghost, or something far worse? In the shadowed halls of Thalon Prime, the Emperor watched the chaos unfold for the first time in centuries. He looked uncertain, his advisors argued, each offering theories. Some said the humans were using impossible stealth. Others believed they had help from unknown ancient races. But the truth was darker. Deep beneath the Emperor's palace lay an ancient vault, sealed long before the Empire's birth. Inside rested a relic of unimaginable power, the Eclipticon core, a weapon not made by the Empire, but by a civilization so old that even its name was forgotten. It was said to twist time and matter, to erase entire systems from existence, but the cost of using it was unspeakable. Desperation silenced hesitation. The Emperor ordered the vault opened. 1,000 priests of the old order began the activation rituals. As the chamber filled with blinding light, a whisper echoed through the palace walls. Not from the core, but from something older, it said. You cannot control what watches you. Far away, humanity was already aware. Commander Elena Rios stood before the holographic map of the galaxy. The AI known as Erebus flickered beside her. They found it, Erebus said. Rios nodded slowly. The Eclipticon core, she replied. Let them use it. I want to see what happens. On the Imperial flagship, Grand Admiral Threxar's successor, Lord Vexar, led the operation. His fleet surrounded the weapons containment ring. Energy readings climbed beyond measurable limits. Reality itself began to distort. Stars in nearby sectors shimmered like reflections on water. Then the core activated in a moment, space screamed. An entire Terran outpost vanished. No debris, no radiation, no trace, only silence. Vexar smiled in triumph. The humans bleed at last, he declared. But his smile didn't last long. Because the outpost didn't die, it moved, reappearing millions of kilometers away, surrounded by human warships that had been waiting. The Eclipticon had done exactly what humanity had predicted. It had folded space, just as their own quantum veil arrays did. But unlike humans, the Empire didn't understand the price. Back on Thalon Prime, the weapon began to pulse uncontrollably. It was feeding not on power, but on thought. The more the Empire panicked, the stronger it became. Cities began to flicker in and out of existence. Entire planets disappeared, then reappeared in the wrong orbits. The Emperor's own palace trembled. And then, from the void of the weapon, a shape emerged, a ship, massive, black and alien, older than the stars. The same design humanity had seen in deep archives. The same that wiped out the civilization that built the core. It wasn't a ship of humans, nor of the Empire. It was something else. Something that had been sleeping inside the weapon. Waiting for fools to awaken it, the human AI Erebus observed calmly. Predicted outcome confirmed, it said. Rios gave a cold nod. Time to move, she whispered. Her fleet phased into the dying system, not to destroy, but to clean up. Human warships surrounded the monstrous relic. Their weapons glowed not with heat, but with folded energy, starlight compressed into streams of pure control. They fired not to kill, but to rewrite the laws around the ancient ship. For minutes, that felt like eternity. Light and darkness twisted in combat no eye could follow. Then it was over. The Empire's world burned silently. The core collapsed into a sphere of nothingness. And when it was gone, so too was the alien presence. Only the Terran fleet remained. Silent among the wreckage, Commander Rios spoke softly. Now they'll understand why we laughed, she said. Because they still think war is about weapons, Erebus responded. It was never about weapons. Commander, it's about who understands the universe better. Across what remained of the Empire, the message spread. Humanity had not only survived, they had tamed what even gods feared. And somewhere deep in Terran command, another smile appeared. Not one of arrogance, but of inevitability. Because this was only the beginning, the galaxy had seen humanity's strength, but not yet their purpose, and soon everyone would learn. Why the Terrans never feared the dark. Because they were the ones who had mastered it, the galaxy trembled. The once eternal Galactic Empire lay shattered. Its fleets burned, its capital erased by its own arrogance. But even as its ashes cooled, word of humanity spread faster than light. Every species that had once bowed to the Empire now whispered a new name. Terrans, some spoke it with fear, others with awe, none with understanding. On the edge of the Orion Rift, 12 alien empires gathered in secret. A coalition born from desperation, they called it the Concord of Survival. Each leader stood around the holographic map of the galaxy, their faces pale with dread. The humans will not stop, hissed the Varnak matriarch. They destroyed the Empire like it was nothing, the reptilian warlord of the Krezan added. They laugh at death itself, but one among them, the ancient scholar Zorin of the Eltari, spoke quietly. You all misunderstand, he said. They didn't laugh at us. They laughed because they know something we do not. While the galaxy argued and planned, humanity remained silent. No invasions, no threats. No broadcasts, only watchful calm to the Concord. That silence was more terrifying than any weapon. In a hidden chamber beneath Earth's surface, Commander Elena Rios and the AI Erebus analyzed endless data streams. Every race's message, every fleet movement, every whisper across the stars. "They're uniting," Erebus said. Rios smiled faintly. "Good," she whispered. "It's time they stand together for once. What will you do when they attack again?" the AI asked. Rios turned toward the window where Earth glowed below. "They think they're planning war," she said. "We're planning graduation." Out in the void, the Concord began its strike. Hundreds of fleets from dozens of worlds surged toward Sol. They expected resistance. Walls of Terran ships, planetary shields. Instead, they found nothing, just open space, empty and silent. Until they realized they were inside something. Space itself bent around them like a living shell. Sensors failed, coordinates drifted, the void became a mirror. And inside that reflection they saw themselves. Not ships, not soldiers, but their own histories, wars. Greed, fear, destruction. It was not a battlefield, it was a lesson. A voice echoed through every vessel, calm, human, timeless. "You seek to destroy what you do not understand," it said. "Yet we only wanted to show you what you already are." The fleets tried to fire. But their weapons refused, not jammed, not disabled, unwilling, as if reality itself denied them violence. Erebus's voice followed, deeper, older. "Do you think we fought the Empire for conquest? We fought because they awakened something that should have slept. The core was only a door." At that moment, space tore open near Jupiter's orbit, a scar of black light spreading across the void. From within, shapes emerged, not ships, not machines, but entities made of gravity and memory, remnants of the race that built the Eclipticon core. They drifted toward the conquered fleets like shadows of gods. The coalition screamed in terror, their weapons flared uselessly. But then humanity appeared, not from hyperspace, but from within the rift itself. Terran ships gliding alongside the ancient entities, guiding them back, not fighting them, commanding them. Commander Rios spoke again. "Now you see why we laughed," she said. "Because you mistook patience for weakness. You thought humanity sought domination, but we were guarding the locks of creation." The conquered fleets fell silent. Their leaders watched as Terran ships closed the rift. The ancient entities bowed once before fading into the darkness. When the light returned, only the human fleet remained. Untouched, unbroken, eternal, Erebus's final transmission echoed across every channel. The Empire fell because it sought control. You survived because you learned humility. Remember this day not as defeat, but as your awakening. Then, as suddenly as they had appeared, the Terrans vanished, their ships dissolving into pure starlight, leaving behind only a message burned into the void itself. We are the laughter in the dark. We are humanity. And throughout the galaxy, every ruler, every species, every survivor understood at last. The humans didn't just win wars, they shaped destiny itself. And somewhere, beyond the edge of known space, Commander Rios watched the stars shimmer and smiled, not with arrogance but with quiet certainty, because the true war had never been about survival. It had been about proving who was ready to stand beside them when the real darkness came. Silence ruled the galaxy. Months passed since the humans vanished into the void. Empires rebuilt their worlds in fear and awe. They whispered stories of Terran gods, of fleets that moved like shadows, of laughter that echoed even in death. But the silence did not last. At the edge of the Perseus Arm, deep space sensors began to fail, entire outposts went dark. Ships vanished mid-transmission, and the stars themselves seemed to dim. The Concord of Survival called an emergency council. Every race sent its finest minds, yet even together they found no explanation, until a single message arrived, not through space but through thought. 3 words burned across every mind in the galaxy. They are awake. Across the ruins of the old Galactic Empire, something ancient stirred. A pulse, faint but vast, rippled through hyperspace. It wasn't energy, it was hunger. The same hunger that had once devoured the builders of the Eclipticon core. On Earth, humanity already knew. Commander Elena Rios stood beneath the flickering map of the galactic rim. Erebus, the AI, projected an expanding sphere of distortion. "They're coming through the breach the Empire tore open," it said. Rios's eyes narrowed. "So the old ones have found their way back," she murmured. Deep in the Terran archives lay records no other species had ever seen. Footage from probes that predated the human space age. Images of vast shapes drifting between galaxies. Feeding on the light of suns, they were called the Devourers. Living voids that consumed both matter and memory. And they had already devoured one entire universe before ours was born. Humanity had always known they would return. That was why the Terrans had built the quantum veil. Not to conquer, but to hide, to buy time, now that time was over. The Conquered received a transmission from the Terran fleet. The first human voice in months. "This is Commander Rios," it said. "The darkness you feel is not death. It's a test. We will hold the line. But the galaxy must choose." Hundreds of alien leaders listened in silence. "Choose what?" one of them asked. The reply came with quiet finality. "Between fear and unity, from the edges of reality." Terran fleets reappeared, not hundreds, but thousands. Each ship pulsing with contained light like beating hearts. They positioned themselves along the galactic rim, forming a glowing barrier that stretched for light years. Every human ship linked through Erebus's core. The galaxy burned at its edges. The Devourers had adapted. Each wave stronger, faster, hungrier than the last. Entire sectors were collapsing into silence. Not even light escaped their hunger. The Terran wall still held, but its glow was fading. For every ship that fell, another was born. Not of metal, but of memory. The humans had found a way to merge themselves into their machines. To become one with their ships, they were no longer pilots or commanders. They were consciousnesses of pure will. Commander Elena Rios stood within her ship's core chamber. Erebus pulsed beside her. "The Devourers are learning," it said. "They are starting to mimic human emotion." Rios nodded slowly. "Good," she whispered. "Let them try to understand us. They'll choke on the meaning across the Terran defense grid." Fleets shimmered like stars caught in mid-song. Every burst of light was a life ending, every silence a sacrifice remembered. And yet through it all, the laughter remained. Not mocking, but defiant. The laughter of beings who refused to die quietly. On the far side of the galaxy, the surviving races of the Conquered watched in disbelief. No command, no order, just chaos wrapped in courage. They realized the humans weren't defending just themselves. They were defending everyone. Even those who once sought to destroy them, the Kreesan warlord. Who had once called humans apes, now whispered a prayer to them. The Varnak matriarch sent her entire fleet to assist the Terrans. And for the first time in galactic history, every species united under one banner, not of conquest, but of survival. Still, humanity knew unity alone would not be enough. The Devourers had no beginning and no end. They were not creatures, but echoes, remnants of universes devoured before time began. If they were to be stopped, the source had to be found, and so the Terrans revealed their last secret, deep within the galactic core. Hidden for millennia lay the Solar Forge, a construct built around the first black hole humanity ever tamed. Its heart pulsed with power drawn from the universe's oldest energy, creation itself. It had one purpose, to rewrite reality. Commander Rios stood before the control matrix. Erebus appeared beside her as a projection of light and shadow. "If we activate the Forge," the AI said, "humanity will cease to exist as flesh." Rios smiled softly. "We stopped being flesh the moment we chose to laugh," she said. "This is what we were meant to become, outside." The Forge awakened. Every Terran ship turned its power inward. Every memory, every emotion, every life merged. The humans became starlight. Their laughter echoed through subspace, vibrating across every mind in the galaxy. Even the Devourers hesitated, as if uncertain, as if afraid. The Forge expanded, reality bent like water around its core. The Devourers tried to consume it. But as they touched the light, they began to remember. Each one saw fragments of what they once were, beings of creation, not destruction. The forge was not killing them. It was healing them. The galaxy erupted in brilliance. Every star pulsed in harmony. The laughter grew louder, not of madness, but of triumph, of freedom. Erebus's voice resonated through every system. Humanity is no longer bound by form, it said. We are the memory that will keep creation alive. And then silence. When the light faded, the devourers were gone, the Terran fleets vanished. Only the forge remained, glowing faintly at the heart of the galaxy. Its light reached every corner of existence, carrying one final message to all life. You are never alone. For centuries after, the younger races would tell stories of the beings who laughed at war, who turned death into rebirth, and who became the song of the stars themselves. And somewhere, in the quiet hum of the forge, a familiar voice whispered, "Keep watching. The universe still has much to learn." 1,000 years passed. The galaxy healed, but it did not forget. The forge at the core of the Milky Way still glowed, a silent heartbeat in the dark. Every species learned to live, to grow, to build anew. Yet at night, under alien skies, they could still hear faint laughter drifting through the stars. The humans had become legend. Some said they were gods. Others believed they were energy, but none truly knew. Until the light began to move again, it started as a whisper at the edge of perception. Sensors caught a vibration no machine could explain, a hum that resonated with every atom of life. The forge was awakening, not in violence but in memory. Inside the core, where matter met thought, a shape began to form, not a person, not a ship, but a being woven from light and gravity. Its voice was familiar, soft, calm, powerful. It was Commander Rios, or what she had become. She looked across the galaxy through eyes of stars. "Erebus," she called, and from the void the AI responded, "I am here. The forge is stable. The signal is ready. What of the others?" Rios asked. "All present," Erebus replied. "Every human who ever lived, every memory, every dream. United within the light?" Rios smiled. "Then it's time." From the center of the galaxy, the forge released a pulse, not of destruction, but awakening. Every living being across the Milky Way froze as visions filled their minds. They saw the birth of stars, the death of worlds, and the laughter of the Terrans. They saw how humanity had never sought to rule, only to teach. The pulse spread beyond the galaxy. Through the intergalactic void, through sleeping nebulae and ancient remnants of forgotten worlds, and something stirred in the emptiness. A flicker, a spark, the devourers, reborn but changed. No longer shadows of hunger, but fragments of light. Restored to their original form, the universe itself began to respond. Matter aligned with consciousness, energy began to listen. The forge was rewriting the nature of existence, turning chaos into harmony, fear into creation. Erebus spoke once more. "This is what the Empire never understood," it said. They thought laughter was arrogance. They never realized it was hope. Across the galaxy, the conquered's descendants looked up in wonder. Every star shone brighter, every world hummed with a quiet rhythm. It was the song of life itself, and at its center, the humans returned. Not as flesh, not as conquerors, but as light, pure, and endless. Rios's voice echoed through the cosmos. "To every species that watches the night sky," she said, "know this. Darkness is never your enemy. It is only the silence waiting for your courage. When you laugh in the dark, you remind the universe that it is alive." The forge expanded one last time, its light touching every world, every ocean, every sky. The stars themselves seemed to laugh, a deep, warm sound that filled the void. And for the first time since time began, the universe felt peace. The humans were gone, yet everywhere. They had become the breath between worlds, the spark in every newborn sun, the memory in every dreamer's heart, the laughter in the dark. And so the legend ended where it began, with a smile, with defiance, with light. Because when the Galactic Empire declared war on humans, they didn't just awaken a species, they awakened eternity. And eternity, as it turned out, had a human laugh,